All right. I have to say that with this second dynamic, I think we are all witnessing a deep state coup against the people, against the consent of the governed. So we've got this Caligula effect on the one hand, and we've got a deep state coup on the other. And I think this is a full-blown mutiny by the deep state. And this literally goes back to the whole nature of the role that Epstein played here. It's no secret, as Tucker said at the very beginning of this video, that Epstein was a deep state plant. I think that's the only thing that could possibly explain how this guy got, first of all, his affluence and also his access to some of the most powerful men on the planet. He was helped, he was aided, he was abetted by very nefarious deep state actors that wanted to control and coerce and manipulate the most powerful men on the planet through blackmail, okay? And so if you think it through, when Pam Bondi, think about it, Pam Bondi in her request for or her demand, her order for all of these Epstein files to be made public, think about what she was ordering. She was completely dependent on the deep state handing over the secrets about the deep state. Let that hit you. Pam Bondi basically ordered the deep state to hand over the secrets about the deep state. How do you think that's going to turn out? It's obviously a total contradiction of what these three-letter agencies have become. These three-letter agencies have become mechanisms of control manipulation. That's exactly what the whole Epstein psyop is all about. They're simply not going to voluntarily relinquish control of that which they control. Again, this just needs to be underscored in terms of really having a big picture understanding what's happening here. I mean, we now know, thanks to the Twitter files, we've done a number of videos. I've even written, there's a chapter in my book here on this. We now know, thanks to the Twitter files that were released by Elon, that on the night of Trump's first election back in November 2016, permanent Washington was absolutely panicked. We know that. We have the emails. And we know that something happened inside D.C. that night. It became widely accepted among the unelected bureaucrats who comprise permanent Washington that the consent of you, the governed, could no longer be trusted. Quite the contrary, proactive measures had to be taken to ensure that you, the people, the consent of you, the governed, could indeed be managed, coerced, and if necessary, thwarted by the deep state. And so the key here is that the deep state today functions as an immune system to protect permanent Washington from the democratically expressed will of the people, from the consent of the governed. And so what we're seeing here with the apparent mutiny here, this coup from the Southern District of New York, is something that's going to have to be resolved, I believe, by Kash Patel and Dan Bongino. Pam Bondi, just structurally speaking, when all is said and done, is an attorney. She's the nation's top attorney for sure. But in the end, she's an attorney. It's Kash and Dan who hold the real structural power over the FBI. And they need to clean house, akin to how Tulsi has been cleaning house in the nation's intelligence agencies with these mass firings. Now, the good news is I do think that's exactly what Kash and Dan are going to do. Kash has consistently outlined a threefold vision for the FBI, right? We've talked about this a lot. First and foremost, he's planning on changing the location of the agency, relocating it most likely in the heart of a solid red state, and thereby change the culture, the ethos of the agency to reflect more red state values. Secondly, he wants to break up and distribute their concentrated power. So that would involve breaking up some of the agencies and outsourcing them to other investigative bodies throughout the federal government, such as Homeland Security and Treasury and other investigative bodies. There's the possibility of breaking up the FBI actually into 4 or 5 agencies, with one responsible for counterintelligence, one responsible for counterterrorism, one for complex white-collar crime, one for cyber crimes, and so on. And then thirdly, and this is really his first test with this, thirdly, Cash is actively creating a 24/7 declassification office. And he said repeatedly that this would involve releasing the Epstein files and the Kennedy assassination files, 9/11, and it's all aiming for greater transparency in government operations, but also exposing the FBI of the past, supposedly, as an agency of the deep state in terms of how it's been harassing and imprisoning American citizens for their own nefarious political purposes, and expose the various ways in which the deep state has undermined the democratic integrity of the republic. We are now watching in real time Cash's first real test. This is it. This Caligula coup among agents in the FBI office, the field office in New York, who were refusing to turn over the Epstein files. So in response, if you don't know, Cash did tweet out a very stern and unequivocal warning. He said, quote, "There will be no cover-ups, no missing documents, and no stone left unturned. And anyone from the prior or current bureau who undermines this will be swiftly pursued. If there are gaps, we will find them. If records have been hidden, we will uncover them, and we will bring everything we find to the DOJ to be fully assessed and transparently disseminated to the American people as it should be. The oath we take is to the Constitution, and under my leadership, that promise will be upheld without compromise." So in the end, and I think at least from one angle, Pam Bondi overplayed her own hand in that we're finding out she can't force the deep state to come clean on its own deep state secrets. All she can do, in effect, in the end, again, is subpoena and indict. It's Cash who has the real power, Cash and Dan Bongino, who can force the agency to heel and give up their secrets as they fire agent after agent after agent after agent until they find a MAGA faithful agent who says, "Here you go. Here's the files. Where's my promotion?" Right? I mean, clearly, I think there may even, Elon talked about this with Doge, they are starting to dangle carrots. It's not just a stick, it's carrots. You turn these, you become a whistleblower, you get promoted. That's how you do it. But again, that's how I think Tulsi's doing it, at least in terms of holding agents accountable to the people in the intelligence agencies. So in summary, to me, what I think we're all frustrated by, and again, this is at the perceptive level, is that this Caligula effect, where we're seeing our leaders in permanent Washington engage in the most perverse behavior imaginable without any semblance of accountability, sort of staying in power and staying entrenched, particularly in the FBI. And then secondly, that Caligula effect is turning into a coup that is pushing back against the will of the people and intentionally thwarting the consent of the governed. So that's why I'm calling it, overall, what we're all pissed about and really upset about, I'm calling the Caligula coup. And in the end, this Caligula coup is going to require some real brass knuckle power moves to overcome this deep state mutiny against the people. And then again, perhaps if we go one more level higher in our analysis, perhaps Cash and Bondi knew this going in. Perhaps could it be that when they were saying, "Oh yeah, we're going to release 200 documents and that's all of it," could it be that they knew that was BS? Could it be that they're actually setting everybody up inside the New York field office? There are some who are arguing that we're actually seeing some 4D chess play out. I'm going to show you exactly how. Trump is fully in the process of draining the swamp, but the uncertainty for many is, will he expose the entire pandemic? There's enough public evidence for folks to be concerned who injected themselves in this experiment. So if you were forced to get the shot to work, travel, or maybe you just trusted the system back then, check out this natural solution formulated by Dr. Peter McCullough in collaboration with the wellness company. And they just leveled up their original detox formula for $30 less. Introducing the 3-in-1 Ultimate Spike Detox, conveniently consolidated into one capsule with 4 times more nattokinase, 500 milligrams of bromelain, and 500 milligrams of turmeric root extract. Nattokinase, an enzyme research for its anti-clotting effects, may work to break down spike proteins. Combined with bromelain and curcumin, it provides a potent blend for detoxification and cellular support. Crafted with 100% natural ingredients, Ultimate Spike Detox is backed by research offering effective support for your cell's natural repair and recovery. Experience the only formula approved and used by Dr. Peter McCullough, a top freedom fighter doctor who risked it all. Click on that link below or head on over to twc.health/Turley and use code Turley to get 15% off plus free shipping. Again, that's twc.health/Turley. Use code Turley to get 15% off. Get back to that pre-COVID feeling today. Now, most of what we've learned thus far about the Epstein files have come out of litigation cases from some of the victims, particularly one involving the court documents from Virginia Giuffre and her case against Ghislaine Maxwell. Okay, those court documents have been made public. And what was so significant about that case is that we finally learned some of the names of the John Does that were up until that time referenced during litigation, among whom are those alleged to have been perpetrators and witnesses to Jeffrey Epstein's criminal conduct, right? His Caligula effect. And again, we have to be very clear here. And I'm glad to see I'm seeing it in a lot of coverage here. Not all of the John Does, not all of the names that are revealed are predators, right? Or have been alleged to have done anything wrong here. Some of them were merely doctors to the victims. Some were merely friends or family members to the victims. Some were simply associates of Epstein's and knew nothing more. We need to be clear that not everyone who's named in these documents are accused of having done anything wrong. For example, it's widely recognized President Trump's name appears in the documents, but he wasn't accused of any wrongdoing whatsoever. He never visited any of Epstein's homes or his islands, never had any contact with his victims. As far as we can tell, he actually found Epstein to be quite the creep. So just because some names got exposed doesn't mean that they did anything wrong. That needs to be said. That said, it's from this cache of documents that were released from Virginia Giuffre's case that we learned that former President Bill Clinton had a very long and rather intimate relationship with Epstein. We even have photos of Bill Clinton getting a back massage from one of Epstein's victims. We know that despite claiming that he had only met Epstein a couple of times, I can't really remember him. I think I met him. We now know that Epstein was a major fundraiser for Clinton all throughout his presidency. In fact, Ghislaine Maxwell was an invited guest who attended Clinton's daughter's wedding. But those files gave us a behind-the-scenes look at Clinton's activities with Epstein. They hung out together. They flew on Epstein's private jet. It was pretty sick stuff. But the second most damning allegation from these files involved, of course, Prince Andrew, who was accused of participating in an orgy with numerous underage girls at Jeffrey Epstein's private islands in the U.S. Virgin Islands. So, and of course, there were scores of others. But this, as we've been learning, is really all just the tip of the iceberg. Again, just going back to that seizure of all the videos and tapes and hard drives and iPads and laptops that Epstein stored at his Manhattan townhouse, we still to this day have no idea what was on those. 5 years later. So this is the kind of data on Epstein that the FBI has in its possession. The $10,000 question is what happened to it. According to investigative reporter Michael Schellenberger, an FBI whistleblower is confirming that the FBI has been actively destroying this evidence related to Epstein. Epstein and JFK, interestingly enough. We'll have to see. But in the meantime, here's the possible 4D chess that some are considering here. Cash and Pam know exactly what's going on. They're not idiots. They know what's going on. They know much of the evidence has already been destroyed. Now, of course, that's a felony, right? Tampering or destroying evidence is a felony. So there may indeed be indictments coming out of all this. Well, again, we'll have to see. But at the very least, it appears that Pam and Cash are using the missing Epstein files as an excuse to clean house and fire en masse those agents from the FBI field office in New York. In other words, the idea that Cash and Pam actually legitimately believe that the Epstein files were only 200 pages is not even remotely believable, right? Again, we all know that 2019 raid alone would have yielded thousands upon thousands of pages of notes and transcripts. The DOJ brought prosecutions against Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell years ago, and the dockets and public evidence from those cases alone run thousands upon thousands of pages. 200 pages were nothing. 200 pages was the introduction, okay? It's obviously and patently bogus. Yet Pam clearly played along with it. Right on the, if I recall, it was the Jesse Waters show. She clearly played along with it. She appeared at least to play along with it. Why? She's not an idiot. I know a lot of people are saying, oh, she's an idiot. We got played. She went, no, you don't advance through the ranks in the Republican, well, yes, in the Democrat world through bio-Leninism. Sure, you've got plenty of competence. What's the term I'm looking for? Just people with a competence crisis, shall we say there. But in the Democratic Party, not so much in the Republican Party. And we're seeing it with Trump's entire team is astonishing. Even Elon said it the other day. This is the most amazing cabinet ever in the history of American politics. She's not an idiot. I don't buy that. She knew that what was going to be revealed, what that revealed yesterday, she knew it was going to be nonsense. She knew that going into this. So why is she doing this? In the end, many are arguing this was a psyop. But ironically, it was a psyop conducted on the deep state, the FBI in particular, and they bought. They bit, I should say. They took the bait. This whole operation launched by Pam and Cash exposed the snakes inside the FBI, the Caligula coup inside the FBI, and now they can conduct a massive cleaning house operation where all the agents that have been involved with the Epstein files, particularly those in the New York field office, are all going to be fired. Bondi and Cash both know that all that evidence, particularly from the 2019 raid, was most likely destroyed precisely because it implicates the FBI and the deep state itself. And so when all said and done, they're just using all of this as a basis to just fire all of these agents and employees. So that would explain, at least in part, why it appeared that Pam Bondi was going along with this nonsense that 200 pages constitute the entire Epstein files. None of that made sense. So we'll have to see how all of this plays out. But I do think it's all but certain that there are going to be massive firings at the FBI. I think that's baked into the cake. I think the insubordination was revealed. I think those who engaged in the Caligula coup are now being identified as we speak, and that is being used as the basis to completely and fully clean house, particularly in this New York FBI division, so that we can finally get our government back. But when all said and done, until we get the full answers as to what's really happening, at least when it comes to the FBI, the perception will continue to linger that the Caligulas remain in charge for now. By the way, click on the link in the description below to get all these articles and tweets I reference throughout my videos emailed to you each and every day. You're going to love it. We want you to have the best resources out there to convince your family and your friends of this new MAGA super age that's rising here.